Hey there, my name is Jacob from the band Quickness, and this video is for HX users. I had quite a few challenges figuring out how to incorporate the HX effects unit, the Line 6 HX effects unit, into my guitar rig when I originally bought it about a year ago. So hopefully this will help dispel a few myths and solve some issues for people who are facing the same challenges. So this is my main rig that I use to record, and I use this for a large outdoor shows. If I'm just doing say 250 to 500 seat pubs, that type of thing, I just bring this Bogner. Anyway, so what I've done here with this rig, here's the rest of the rig here, is I've incorporated the HX effects unit to do all my switching for both of the amplifiers and patch selection for the HX effects unit and for the Strymons. I've found the best way to use this device is using the snapshots. So creating a preset and having a group of 4 sounds for that preset. I've designed this rig so that each of the presets has basically my intro, verse, chorus, and solo or outro sound. I have to say that switching to the HX effects was a big change for me because my previous unit was a TC electronic G system, and I had something like 200 patches programmed into that thing. So yeah, it's 40 pages of 5. So making this change was a huge change for me. I used the G system for about 5 or 6 years, doing maybe 100 shows a year with it. So it got used a lot. This is how I am controlling my guitar rig, is going to up here, entering command center, and in here I'm using these instant messages 1, 2, and 3 to control the external jack switching to do channel switching on my Bogner Ecstasy. And then the other 3 I'm using to control the Strymon Mobius, the Strymon Timeline, and this Voodoo Labs control switcher. The way I do that is here using Bank PC, and then for each device they're set to their own MIDI channel. MIDI channel 1 is the control switcher. MIDI channel 3 is the Strymon Mobius, and MIDI channel 4 is the Strymon Timeline. So, using Bank PC, we'll go over to the next block there. It's currently set to program 2, which is the way I've got this programmed, channel 2 on my amplifier. Go back, right? So instant device number 2, which is on MIDI channel 3, using the instant message number 5, I'm controlling the Strymon Mobius. That is currently, we're still on Bank PC, on program 29. We'll go back, and of course on 4 is the Strymon Timeline. That's on program 1, which is B of 0. They've got another numbering system, so it's a little complicated, but that's basically 1. So 0 and 1. Okay, so Now what that's doing is that's doing patch selection. Okay, so the instant commands control patch selection. And if we go back to let's see here, we're gonna that's snapshot mode. We're gonna go to stomp mode. If you see this, I've got this programmed to do a CC toggle on this. Turns on the timeline. See, watch. Turns on and off the timeline using the CC toggle, and then this turns on and off the Mobius. Right, so you've got your MIDI channel, you've got a CC control change value, and then you can assign whatever color you want, of course. That's another thing altogether. But so there's that, okay? So that is basically controlling the amp channel switching, the Strymon Mobius, Strymon timeline, and the Voodoo Labs control switcher for switching on the Mesa, and all the effects changes on the HX effects. So here is where it gets really cool. When you're in snapshot mode, you can have different settings for each snapshot. So in this particular program, I've got the amps set to the clean channel for the intro. Neither of those effects are on. And then when I switch to the verse setting, that changes the patches for both of these, the Mobius and the timeline, and engages the timeline. And we're in blue channel on the Bogner and orange channel on the Mesa. When I change to the chorus mode, it stays on the same patch here. It resends the same patch, but I've switched to red channel on both of those amps. And then in this particular song on our new record, I've got a tag at the end of the chorus, so that when I hit that, I'm in both the red channels on both amps and the solo boost on the amps, as well as changing the Strymon to this delay setting and the vibe on the Strymon Mobius, all with one switch, right? So it's great, so easy, and it's instant. So that's great. That gives you so much control, and all of that's in Command Center. Command Center lets you talk to each of these devices. Once you're talking to those devices, then you can assign buttons for control in the stomp box mode here, which lets you do like programming, right? Now, there's one other thing I wanted to talk about today, and that is in Signal Flow, I found this unit to be quite hot on the outputs. So the other thing that I do is, you can see we've got our 9 blocks here. But in addition to those 9 blocks, there's also a splitter and a mixer. And in the mixer, for the outputs, I've dropped the output down by 12 dB so that it's not running so hot back through the amps. And I've found that it's given me a lot more clarity. Because I can run the amps, sort of, the channels are run kind of hot, but the actual volume coming out of the amp is down 12 dB from that. So that gives me a larger range of motion on those amplifiers. And the cool thing about that is you don't lose a block to do that. That's a bit of a crash course in the HX effects. I hope that helps a few people get their rig sorted out a little quicker. I know that I had to try and figure it out, and it took me like 2 weeks. So hopefully this 5 or 10 minute video helps you guys solve some problems and maybe get a little bit more use out of what you bought. Thanks for listening. This is Jacob from the band Quickness. And I may make another video soon. And if you haven't had a chance, go check out our new video on YouTube. It's Quickness Miracle. We just released it a couple weeks ago. Talk soon. Happy strumming.